Chapter 3. Emma stares blankly out the floor-to-ceiling windows of her sleek high-rise apartment, watching the city below begin to stir. It's mid-morning on a weekday, and normally she'd be hustling to shoot content or meet brands about partnerships. Instead, an unsettling silence permeates her lavish home. For the first time in years, Emma's phone doesn't ding and buzz with endless notifications. Her Instagram feed lies dormant, devoid of the likes and gushing comments that once fed her ego like oxygen. No brands tag her in sponsored posts or send boxes of free swag. The influencer ads and events that cluttered her calendar are gone, vanished overnight like the artificial friendships they fostered. This forced isolation from the online realm she dominated sinks Emma deeper into despair. She spent years chasing the ephemeral highs of viral posts and superficial acclaim. Now, severed from that world, her mind spirals aimlessly, losing its prescribed purpose. Seeking some semblance of normalcy, Emma reflexively opens Instagram. She mindlessly scrolls through moody food photos, heavily edited travel shots, and generic #Fitspo posts. Pausing on a bikini model frolicking on a pristine beach, Emma imagines how effortlessly she could have posed in the scene months ago, full of breezy confidence. But her fantasies are interrupted by pangs of loss. She watches wistfully as former friends tag each other and collaborate, excluded from their glamorous adventures. They smile brightly atop ski slopes and waterfalls before private jets and five-star resort suites without Emma. Scrolling deeper, a familiar ache sets in. No one seems to notice or care that she's gone. Emma closes the app, but nostalgia continues clouding her mind. She rummages through an old memory box, pulling out Polaroids with fellow influencers in trendy locales. Her throat tightens looking at their grinning faces, arms wrapped casually around her like real friends. She traces her finger over the glossy images, recalling a time when connection seemed so effortless. Beneath the photos, Emma unearths early fan letters from wide-eyed teenage girls, pouring their hearts out to their role model. "You inspire me so much. I want to be just like you when I grow up." Emma swallows hard, thinking of their disillusionment now that the facade has cracked. She reads over every earnest word, recalling when such devotion felt fulfilling rather than burdensome. One by one, Emma revisits relics of her influencer heights, like an addict chasing old highs. Yet the nostalgia brings only hollowness, reminding her of all she's lost. Each snapshot, video, and heartfelt note accentuates the present isolation. Alone once more in her extravagant apartment, Emma craves human connection, not just content. Late one night, Emma is startled from her brooding when her buzzer rings out sharply. Puzzled by who would visit unannounced, she presses the intercom. "Hello?" A measured voice responds. "I have something for Emma Langford?" Emma hesitates, and then curiosity overrides caution. She buzzes the mysterious guest up. Moments later, a knock sounds at her door. Emma peers through the peephole and sees a conservatively dressed woman clutching a large manila envelope. She cracks the door open warily. "Emma Langford?" the woman asks in a brisk tone. At Emma's wary nod, she holds out the envelope. "This arrived for you earlier today." Bewildered, Emma accepts the parcel, and the woman promptly exits without another word. Alone again, Emma inspects the package. Her address is handwritten in an ornate, old-fashioned script. No return addresses or postage marks on the plain envelope. Emma turns it over slowly in her hands, intrigued. Settling onto the couch, she carefully opens the envelope and pulls out a single piece of paper covered in the same elegant writing. Emma begins reading the letter, and realization dawns. This must be from the anonymous fan who sent the cryptic warnings. Only this time, instead of ominous messages, the letter radiates empathy. "My dear Emma," it begins, "over the years I have observed your struggles from afar, wishing I could reach out." Emma's breath catches. The lyrical words seem to peer into her soul, reflecting her isolation and despair. "In public, you hid your pain behind convincing smiles while silently bearing life's hardest burdens." Tears blur Emma's vision as she reads on. The poetic letter perfectly captures her inner anguish and profound desire for understanding. You yearn for a connection that knows no facade or filter, for someone to truly see you, I hope these letters provide some small measure of solace as you navigate difficulties that might overwhelm even the strongest of spirits. Emma clutches the note tightly, flooded with bittersweet emotion. After years starved of sincere human connection, these mysteriously delivered words feel like a salve. Someone out there understands her struggles, even just through observation. For the first time since her public undoing, Emma feels less alone. Over the ensuing weeks, more anonymous letters arrive sporadically like driftwood washing up on Emma's island of isolation. She comes to rely on their poetic wisdom and insight into her lonely psyche. Each new message offers comfort and hope, kindling her fractured spirit. Curled up reading one night, Emma turns a phrase over in her mind. Even the darkest night precedes the dawn of a new day. The metaphor sparks an epiphany. She cannot hide here forever, a prisoner of past mistakes. Hope flickers tentatively inside her. If she faces her fears, perhaps redemption awaits on the other side. Buoyed by this prospect, Emma agrees to attend a social media industry mixer the following evening. Lucas had pushed her to network again, but she acquiesced mainly to prove her resilience. Now, vibrating with nervous energy, Emma rifles through potential outfits seeking armor for the evening. She decides on an elegantly draped black dress and sweeping updo. The ensemble seems understated yet powerful, an aesthetic departure from her traditionally bubbly style. Delicate jewelry and artful makeup complete the look, a hint of the glamorous influencer persona but refined. Steeling herself with deep breaths, Emma steps out into the night. The gleaming city skyline taunts her through the taxi windows as she journeys to the event. Arriving at the exclusive hotel venue, Emma falters, doubts swarming as she faces the lion's den once more. But she reminds herself that the woman who enters need not be defined by her past mistakes. Chin lifted, she walks inside. The networking event is in full swing with industry elites clustered around high-top tables. Emma feels all eyes turn her way. The din of chatter lulls for a moment as influencers nudge each other and stare. Emma stays frozen in their incredulous gazes, like some ruined celebrity risen from the ashes. Before she can flee, Lucas appears through the crowd. "Emma, so glad you could make it," he effuses brightly, although his eyes betray surprise at her dramatized entrance. "Come, let me introduce you around." Lucas ushers her from group to group with strained cheeriness, but conversations lag painfully. Acquaintances Emma once considered friends glance at her with thinly veiled contempt. Some fixate on her nervously, as if fearing an impending outburst. Their whispers hum like a swarm of mosquitoes in Emma's ear. Emma endures the stilted small talk, increasingly unsettled. She knows her reputation precedes her now, but the professional crowd's silent scorn unnerves her. Their judgmental looks seem to probe her every perfected detail, searching for visible cracks in her fragile composure. Finally extricating herself from Lucas's grip, Emma escapes to a quiet balcony for fresh air. Out over the dazzling city lights, she releases a shaky breath, the social pressure overwhelming after months in seclusion. Just as her anxiety levels off, Emma hears the balcony door open behind her. She turns and finds herself face to face with Zoe. Emma freezes, unprepared for this encounter. Since Zoe's betrayal went public, Emma had avoided her former best friend entirely, too hurt to confront the damage left in her wake. Yet here stands Zoe now, eyeing Emma coolly. "Well, look who it is. The prodigal influencer returns?" Zoe's tone drips with mockery. Emma clenches her jaw, containing a torrent of accusations. Zoe observes her closely, gauging Emma's reaction. "I'm surprised to see you back on the scene after your major meltdown. I mean, we all saw that video." Emma flinches, recalling her humiliating public undoing. Zoe presses on relentlessly. "So what now, Emma? Here to pick up the fragments of your career? Salvage your reputation?" "I'm just trying to move forward as we all should do," Emma responds tightly. She turns away, struggling to appear unfazed by Zoe's taunting. "Sure, I get it. Rehabilitate your image, get the sympathy points." Zoe continues needling Emma. "I wonder, though, will anyone trust the girl who became famous pretending to have it all together? Or believe someone just one scandal away from collapsing again?" Emma's composure reaches a breaking point. The wounds of betrayal, still raw, blaze open. Whirling back to Zoe, rage and hurt pour unchecked from her lips. "You want to talk about trust, this coming from the woman who sabotaged me at my lowest point?" Emma's raised voice echoes off the balcony. "You were supposed to be my closest ally, but you amplified my pain for your gain." Zoe regards Emma coldly amidst her tirade, making no move to respond. Emma plows on, years of anguish spilling forth. "You pretended to support me, then abandoned me. And now here you stand, smugly judging my efforts to recover, like vultures flocking to a carcass." Emma's chest heaves, face flushed. The balcony door opens again, party guests and Lucas rushing out to gawk at her outraged unraveling. But Emma barely registers their presence, confronting Zoe with unchecked fervor. "Maybe I hid behind facades, but at least I'm trying to live honestly now. You're so obsessed with bringing me down again, you don't even see your own rotten core." Emma stands tall, tears tracking down her face. The crowd looks on silently, too stunned to interject. Zoe appears momentarily shaken, but quickly regains her composure. "Are you quite finished with your little speech?" she asks coolly. "Because the only one embarrassing themselves now is you. I'm not the pathetic, broken one making a scene yet again." Zoe's words snap the last thread of Emma's restraint. With a guttural cry, she launches herself at Zoe, hands clawing wildly. The crowd lurches forward, pulling Emma away as she screeches incoherently. Lucas drags Emma towards the exit, muttering excuses as she struggles in his grip. All around, phones record every deranged moment. Emma feels the hard stares boring into her, hears their murmurs wondering if she's truly lost her mind. Some small rational part of Emma knows she's only amplifying the gossip and whispers. But years of anguish, betrayal, and frustration erupt uncontrollably. The urge to defend her tattered honor consumes all logical thought. At last, Lucas maneuvers Emma outside to an waiting car. Emma crumples onto the back seat, sobbing violently. As the vehicle speeds off, she watches the glitzy venue retreat until its lights blur into the distance, much like her short-lived comeback attempt. Emma buries her head in her hands. She's ruined herself all over again. Back in the sterile sanctuary of her apartment, Emma gathers the strength to turn on her phone. She's bombarded instantly with news of her very public breakdown, rocketing across social media. Gossip sites trumpet the news of her relapse into erratic behavior. Former followers revel in her downfall, making memes mocking her meltdown. Talk show hosts analyze whether she's headed for an inevitable stint in rehab. Emma scrolls endlessly through the fallout, her pulse pounding. She knew this mixer was a risk, but failed to prepare for just how cruelly the community that once revered her would react. Their words land like physical blows, each more painful than the last. After hours spent spiraling down feeds full of condemnation, Emma finally sets down her phone. A heavy realization settles upon her. Try as she might to move forward professionally, her reputation is damaged beyond repair. The wolves will leap upon any stumble, ensuring she never regains status. Weeks of isolation had strained Emma's mental health, but this public attack shreds what little progress she'd made. She stares at her gaunt reflection, eyes ringed by dark circles, skin sallow from lack of sun and sleep. She hardly recognizes herself beneath the war paint of makeup and bravado. Something snaps in Emma then. She refuses to live as this haunted version of herself any longer. Before she can overthink, Emma opens her Instagram account for the first time since her downfall. Without hesitation, she types out a short statement announcing her permanent departure from social media, effective immediately. The consequences unfold rapidly after clicking post. Emma's phone buzzes madly as her announcement sends shockwaves through the influencer community. She receives voicemails from Lucas, sputtering in disbelief and demanding she take it back immediately. Emma merely texts him a statement thanking him for the opportunities, but declaring her intentions will not change. She will not be his puppet, and she no longer cares who thinks she's running from failure. Her only path forward is starting anew, far from the virtual viper's nest. In the coming weeks, Emma meets the harsh realities of her self-imposed social media exile. Her lucrative brand sponsorships vanish, leaving her struggling to pay astronomical rent on her luxury apartment. Possessions she once flaunted proudly get sold just to make ends meet. Packing her belongings proves strangely cathartic. Emma no longer mourns discarding the material trappings of influencer success. Designer shoes, electronics, and decor carry little meaning, now besides reminding her of the esteem she craved. Emma carefully wraps up old fan letters and personal mementos. Though bittersweet, she smiles thinking of the hopeful girl who arrived starry-eyed in this city years ago. That wide-eyed dreamer still flickers inside her. She deserves space to emerge again. On a moving day, Emma gazes around the echoing apartment, recalling moments of hope, laughter, despair, and regret contained within these walls. She says a silent goodbye to the woman she was, forgiving her flaws. Then, Emma squares her shoulders and walks away, voicing one request to the movers. Please donate anything we don't need. Standing on the curb beside her boxes and suitcases, Emma stares up at the gleaming high-rise one last time. She breathes in the brisk city air, reminding herself the future remains unwritten. Emma climbs into the waiting taxi, glancing back just once more before her old life disappears. The coming days will challenge her deep-seated fears of failure and irrelevance without social media's distorting lens. Yet Emma feels the faintest flicker of hope. With her illusion stripped away, perhaps at last she can rediscover who she was meant to be all along.